CrossCountry's regional services are about to get a whole lot better. In today's video, I'll be taking a ride on one of their newly refurbished Turbostar trains, the mainstay of their long distance regional routes, with a whole array of new features to explore, from the new onboard power to a rather curious seating layout, and most importantly, how it holds up on longer journeys. We'll find out as we travel from Birmingham to Cambridge on this newly refurbished train. Now join me as the journey continues. This train normally starts its journey at Birmingham New Street, the main station serving Britain's second largest city, and is the country's busiest station both by interchanges and passenger numbers, which is outside of London. Inside is the Grand Central Shopping Centre, and safe to say it's a bit chaotic as a result of this and its importance. Oh, and don't forget to say hi to Ozzy the Bull too whilst you're here. The cross-country network is centred at this station, which consolidates both its long-distance and regional traffic. One of their long-distance Voyager trains can be seen leaving the underground entrance for rail traffic to the station, passing the site of the future HS2 Curzon Street station, due to open at the end of the decade. Now, you may have noticed I said the train normally starts here, but for most passengers familiar with New Street, you'll be pleased to hear that owing to engineering works on the line towards Birmingham New Street the day I travelled, we'll instead be starting our journey, shall we say, slightly out of the city centre at Coleshill Parkway. Located in the county of Warwickshire, this station opened in September 2007 and acts as a park and ride for, yep, you guessed it, the town of Coleshill itself. Inside you'll find ticket facilities by way of a ticket office as well as a machine, though it seemed the latter was the only one operational today. In all honesty, this is probably one of the most random stations I've started one of my videos from, being rather remote and isolated, but it's still served by local buses, and when I travelled, a rail replacement bus from Birmingham New Street, which, as I mentioned earlier, is where trains serving here typically begin and end their journeys from. Funnily enough, this station is operated by West Midlands Trains, but the only operator to serve here is CrossCountry, with whom we'll be travelling on the 14:30 to Stansted Airport from Platform 2. The service we took to get here is preparing to return east, but this won't be the one we're taking. Trains in each direction typically run twice hourly, one to Leicester and another continuing on to Peterborough, Cambridge and Stansted Airport in the east of England, though the engineering works meant only the latter was running. On their regional services, CrossCountry, currently operated by Arriva, use a fleet of 29 2 and 3 car Class 170 Turbostar DMUs, built by Bombardier and Adtranz between 1999 and 2003 depending on the variant. Most sets, like this 170-6 here, are 3 car units, with only 7 being 2 car units. As the train leaves, we can see the rather nice maroon and silver livery which these units have worn for the best part of 16 years now. But now, it's time for a change. As my inbound service departs for Stansted Airport, my train is arriving in from Nottingham now, and yeah, it's pretty hard to miss. This Class 170, 170-101 is the first of CrossCountry's entire fleet to have gone through their new refurbishment programme. Not only have they received a striking new livery, which I have to say is a lot better than the artist impressions, they've also had significant interior changes, which we'll look at later. One noticeable and much needed one being the distinguishment of wheelchair and bike spaces, as seen here. But for now, why don't you let me know what you think of the livery in the comments. And off goes our train. Yeah, I'm just messing with you. As it's terminating here, it sneaks off just a few yards down from here before changing direction to come back into our platform around 10 minutes before departure to take us on to the East Anglia. Now you'll have to forgive me here for the slightly awkward camera angle. Regular users of CrossCountry will know that boarding their trains is chaotic, and this time is no exception. I rushed towards the rear of the train, as the first 7 units being refurbished will contain a first class section, which as of December 2024 is now declassified on CrossCountry's regional services. I figured this lone solo seat would be ideal for the next 2 or so hours. Our route to Cambridge sees us cross the Midlands from west to east, working our way towards Leicester before continuing to join the East Coast Main Line onto Peterborough. From there, we then go deeper into the East Anglia region towards Ely and finally Cambridge, where I'll be dropped off before the train continues to Stansted Airport. Our journey today will cover 129 miles in just over 2.5 hours. We depart Coleshill Parkway on time at 2:30 UK time.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that gave ruined it, but I beat him at the last one. Like, you have to hit the 21 and darts in it. I can't beat this shit, man.
The first order of business for our train is to continue through the West Midlands and head towards the East Midlands. This part of the journey is the shortest in the regions that we travel through, however, as 10 minutes later we can see the main West Coast main line below as we arrive into Nuneaton, an important junction station for services to London, the North West and even Scotland and North Wales on occasion. Another thing to point out as well is that the line here is electrified. Much of the route this particular cross-country journey takes is unelectrified for the majority of the way, as are 60% of Britain's railway lines, hence why diesel Class 170 trains are used. After Nuneaton, we rejoin the Birmingham to Peterborough line, which is the main link between the West Midlands and the East Anglia. For the majority of the line, the maximum speed is 90 miles per hour, just 10 miles per hour short of the 100 mile per hour maximum speed of the Turbostar units. Owing to the engineering works, we also make stops at stations that would otherwise be skipped and served by the local stopping service to Leicester, such as Hinckley. As we progress in the countryside, the service also becomes rather patchy, so CrossCountry's free Wi-Fi would be handy, though do note you're unable to stream videos or perform downloads, for example. But enough about the route and connectivity, let's get into the features of this newly refurbished train. The Fisoline seats are a bit of a hit and miss for long distance intercity trains, but on regional express trains like this I think they're perfectly acceptable. The padding is adequate and it has great ergonomics. One little detail I also like is the little X logo shown on the maquette, which really looks the part. I found that legroom on the new seats varies, but where I was sitting was quite generous for a regional train. Sadly, no recline on the X first class seats though. One welcome feature for passengers will be the addition of UK 3-pin power sockets, which also includes a USB-A and even a USB-C adapter, something even most new builds elsewhere in the UK and the rest of the world seem to lack. Sadly though, there's only one power outlet per duo seat, and the table seats only include 2 outlets to be shared amongst 4 people, which is a bit disappointing. Still, the tables are very spacious and perfectly adequate to work from with a large laptop. This also includes the fold-down tray tables at the back of the solo seats, though I was confused as to why one was at the back of the seat with no other seat behind it. Each seat also features foldable armrests on the aisle side, as well as coat hooks by the windows for hanging up any coats or jackets. One thing I noticed too was that the curtains, which were previously in first class before the refurbishment had been removed, likely highlighting that this section is now standard class on CrossCountry's Class 170s. Oh, and before I forget, there's also grab handles at the back of the seat to aid those with reduced mobility, which are highlighted through the lighter shade of blue for ease of visibility. Overall, this is a really good first impression, and a lot has clearly been thought of here despite some minor flaws. Great job, CrossCountry. Never thought I'd be saying those words. Before Leicester, we call at South Wigston, a large village located just to the south of the city itself. It's also worth noting here that as with Coleshill, which is managed by West Midlands Railway, East Midlands Railway manages the station and others on the route between Nuneaton and Leicester, yet CrossCountry is the only operator to serve them. As we approach the city station itself, keep an eye out on the left for the King Power Stadium, the home of Leicester City Football Club since 2002. Leicester is the largest city in England's East Midlands region, with a population of nearly 400,000 people. The entry into Leicester sees us have a brief stint on the Midland Main Line, my former local line growing up, which is due to see significant changes over the years as work continues to fully electrify the route into the next decade. The majority of the people on this route tend to travel between Birmingham and Leicester, though it's not uncommon to see it full and standing into Cambridge and Stansted Airport too. Thankfully, the train emptied out here and allows us to get a view of Leicester LIP and its impressive locomotive display, including an ex-GWR Class 769 tri-mode unit for some reason. Let me know in the comments if you know why it was here. At Syston, our train leaves the Midland Main Line following another brief stint, where we continue on the Birmingham to Peterborough line's eastern section, arguably the more scenic portion of the line, as we'll see later. For now, our train calls at Melton Mowbray, a Leicestershire market town, and for those of you interested in food, it's often dubbed as Britain's rural food capital, and is the home of the Melton Mowbray pork pie and Stilton cheese, as proudly displayed by the sign just as we leave the station. Well, I've shown you the X First Class section, but now let's check out the rest of the interior, which has also seen a significant change. The Legacy Standard Class section, also in a 2x2 configuration, has also received Fiser lean seats, replacing the older Lazzarini type seating that was on these trains since they were first introduced in 1998. The seats are almost identical to those in the X First Class cabin, albeit lacking a winged headrest and wearing CrossCountry's signature maroon coloured moquette instead of the light blue. Legroom also slightly varied, with this seat being a bit tighter than others I tried. Luggage storage is available using the overhead racks for smaller items as well as larger ones for heavier items such as suitcases. That is, when people aren't using them as seats when these trains are overcrowded. One improvement with this refurbishment is the bicycle area is now distinct from the wheelchair accessible area, with a dedicated space for storing bikes now added in the front driving vehicle. Reservations, which are free of charge, are recommended, and this can be done either online or by speaking with station staff. Minus a change in seats and the addition of power sockets, the wheelchair space is otherwise the same as before the refurbishment. I'm also glad the foldable seats were retained, a feature I've always loved with the Turbostars. This area also features a PRM specified toilet, so let's see what's changed here, as soon as the door closes.
One eternity later.
This newly refurbished train had only been in service for several days when I took it, so needless to say it was immaculately clean despite having done several journeys already today, including to and from Wales. Definitely smells a lot better than the Voyager toilet too. There are coat hooks as well as a baby changing ramp available, though this was strangely out of use when I travelled. There is also a standard toilet in the rear driving vehicle where I'm sitting, which was also cleaned minus a few bits of toilet paper on the floor. Our train then calls at Stamford, the last station before we join the East Coast Main Line to head towards Peterborough, though we randomly stop here for a good 10 minutes just after pulling out for an unknown reason. Soon enough though, we're back on the move, and soon join the main route used by trains between Edinburgh, Newcastle, York and London, amongst other major cities in the northeastern Scotland. The route is mainly operated by LNER and their newer Azuma trains, which I've already reviewed on the channel before. Peterborough marks our entry into England's East Anglia region, and we're treated to the sight of one of LNER's iconic Intercity 225 sets, which will sadly be retired within the next couple of years. Sadly, this train once again filled up, so no right hand side views of the Nene Valley Railway and its preserved HST I'm afraid, though we do get a glimpse of Great Northern's new Class 379 trains, which after having been mothballed for several years by Greater Anglia are in the process of returning to passenger service. Count on me to check these out again once they start running from London to Cambridge. Speaking of which, we now cross the River Nene to join the line onto Cambridge, arguably one of the more scenic parts of this route after calling it March. The wetlands around here are really quite something to look at. Just before Ely, we join the Fen line just outside of Ely's Papworth sidings, where many off-lease older trains can be seen in storage facing uncertain futures. Amongst these are several HST power cars and Mark III coaches, which are either in the process of being scrapped or exported to countries such as Mexico and Nigeria. Ely is our last intermediate stop before Cambridge. Don't miss out on the stunning Ely Cathedral to the right when approaching this station as we cross over the River Great Ouse. Unlike other operators such as Great Northern to the left, our cross-country train runs non-stop now to Cambridge for almost 20 minutes, meaning this is the home stretch. Overall, I was pretty pleased with this refurbishment. It was carried out very well and a lot of key problem areas with the legacy interior, such as lack of proper bike storage, have been effectively addressed, though this still doesn't resolve the fact that these 2 and 3 car trains are too few in number to resolve the severe capacity issues CrossCountry has faced for years. We can only hope this will change in due course. I booked my ticket for this trip a day in advance and paid only £10.35, including my 1/3 railcard discount, which for a nearly 3-hour journey is pretty great value for money, provided you're not standing the whole way, as was fortunately not the case for me today. As we pass the Arriva train care sidings just outside of Cambridge, we then shortly arrive into our final destination a few minutes late in the end, owing to the stop outside of Stamford earlier. Now you've heard from me, I want to hear from you. Have you tried CrossCountry's refurbished Turbostar yet? Do you think it's an improvement on the old interior? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video and don't forget to like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. Okay, now time to go get some dinner before going home. It's been a while since I've been to Cambridge. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.